Welcome to the Wrexham Coffee Matchup. I'm Dave.
And I'm Courtney. Each week, we'll take a few minutes to catch up on the latest news from Wrexham. From matchups to transfers, on and off the pitch, we'll share our takes on it all.
So grab a coffee and join us.
Dave, welcome back.
Welcome. So are you still
in a
in
black
the land
hole? Where are you?
I'm in my normal setup, but are you still in the land of heat intolerance and
I really
almost
thought
over?
I really thought that like today was going to be the last day and that tomorrow was going to be cool. And it rained, and this morning it felt so nice. And then approximately 47 minutes later, it just felt muggy and
Ooh.
gross. And it felt like I was back in South Carolina, except we didn't have air conditioning inside.
Oh no. Well, hang in there a little bit longer. Hopefully it breaks soon.
But we'll be fine.
Yeah, okay, you'll be fine. So a lot has happened. So we did a couple of weeks where very little to nothing has happened. And then we've been pretty much bombarded with news since last week, since we last spoke.
There's been,
quite a bit.
Should we start with the big
one?
one?
That's the most obvious one that we were expecting is that Paul Mullin has been released from his contract. So he's now free to go and look for another team, look for other opportunities. You don't have to worry about being a loan or a sale. It's kind of similar to what they did with Ollie Palmer last summer. So they came to an agreement and released him, and then he found a new deal somewhere else. So it was sad to see, but inevitable. I mean, but you can't miss the contributions. I mean, he made 171 appearances. Even though he hadn't played in 18 months, he made 171 appearances and scored 110 goals, which is just an amazing feat. But I was brought back to, there's a couple things that I wanted to point out about this. One is that I was pleased about the amount of positive response that came congratulating him from previous players as well as current players who have been inspired by him. And so it was nice to see. One of the quotes that I loved the most was Josh Windass quoting to Paul Mullin's farewell post. In essence, because I don't have the direct quote in front of me, saying, I wouldn't be playing here if it wasn't for you. And which is just the absolute nicest thing, I think. Yeah.
And I think we'll talk about this later. The more that we see of Josh Windass, the more I, at least, fall in love with him. I think just the level of class and, it's so true. I mean, everything that he brought to the club was astounding and, really helped to pull the club up to where they are today. I think, the contributions of Paul Mullin will be felt for a really long time. And he definitely earned his place on the side of the turf. Or is it on this? No, it's not on the side of the turf. It's a little further into town, but he earned his mural. He earned his mural in town.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, I mean, I look forward to seeing what he does next, because he had a rough time after his surgery. So his two loans, neither one of them really panned out last season. But hopefully he, finds
You're not talking about
perfectly.
The lung surgery.
No, he had a back surgery.
That's right.
At the end of last season, or a previous season. And so before he went out on loan, his recovery came slow. And then, so it's kind of a back-to-back situation that kind of just really messed up everything. But so I mean, we haven't seen much else in terms of the way of solid news yet, but like we talked about last week, the World Cup is still in full swing. So there's probably a lot of players that are, in depths of discussion. There was a lot made about just Parky waiting. But I think we could be seeing, this is the beginning of the wave of either releases or loans of people going out.
I think we'll see those first too.
I fully expect, we kind of expect to see an Elliot Lee notice at some point in the coming weeks. It makes sense because the players are actually coming back to training on June 30th, which is tomorrow, the day after we record this. And they have just the less than 2 weeks between then and when they go to Poland for their first match. And so I imagine that they have to be making sort of decisions about who to try out or what positions at this point. And so if someone's clearly not in the picture, I think that they're probably going to try to wrap that up early and then kind of know what it is that they're looking for next.
Do you think we'll see any new players before going to Poland?
I don't know. We saw them pretty early last year. We saw a couple before our trip, but I'm not sure yet. I hear rumors here and there, but I think it's more the rumors of here who might be leaving, which would trigger if we brought in other players. So you mentioned to me that there's rumblings of Danskar potentially going, and which would be sad because he played right up until the very end, but I knew his time was limited as the season went on. Fully expect a Connor Cody and Ryan Hardy to be loaned out or to sold somewhere else. But we're still worried endlessly about the Arthur situation.
Well, I can't even talk about that. But I did have a question. Is Connor Cody's loan finished then?
Yeah. So both Cody and Hardy's loan were 1-year loans. And so their return
he didn't go until January.
But they were till the end of the season. So
okay.
Yeah.
Not a full 1 year, but okay.
Yeah, and he still has time left on his contract. So I imagine now's the time to either loan again, or if someone wants to buy him, I think that would happen. But there's one that I did see over the weekend, which is a little surprising to me, is that there's teams who are interested in Davis Keeler-Dunn, who just joined us in January. And
I've got to tell you that was kind of a question mark in my mind. Just looking through, you and I started kind of last week looking through the roster and thinking about what names would and would not surprise us.
Right.
And that was a name that was on my list.
Right.
As not surprising.
There was talk that either he goes out on a loan because, there's hopes for the future for him, or just they're finding that it wasn't the right fit and they find something better. I'm not sure. So I'll be curious to see if anything comes of that. And then the one that I haven't seen any rumors about, but the person who I would not be surprised if we saw leave over the summer for me would be Ryan Barnett. And which would also be sad because he's one of the only potentially 2 left of the back-to-back players at this point who have actually seen time. But we saw his time just shrink and shrink and shrink as the season went on. And the opportunities for him to step up just didn't look like they were happening. And so I would just love to see him get into a club where he can just show what he can do and be the star of that.
Yeah. I also have, I don't know, maybe a bit of a controversial opinion.
Oh, we love it. Go for it.
I am kind of torn in that, we talked about this. We have talked about this before, both in an episode and just you and I, that we don't see there being a ton of changes this season. But there's also part of me that wouldn't be surprised if we see nearly as many changes as we saw last season. The reason being, I think that it is very clear that we are a very highly competitive championship team.
No doubt.
There's no question there.
Yeah.
But other than VAR, which screw those guys, I think I'm using the toned down version of what we all know to say. But other than that, I do, as much as I love the team, I do think that we would struggle with this team in the Premier League. And,
absolutely. Yeah.
And I think that that's fairly clear. And so I wonder if, because what has been kind of the method of success over the last several years, you bring in players that have that experience, that really are players that are for that next level up, that help to pull us there. And so there's a part of me that thinks, I wouldn't be surprised if they made a lot of changes in order to make that push.
I could see
But I don't know.
And,
what do you think?
Yeah, I could see that. I do start to see articles popping up about relegated Premier League teams that are coming into the championship and people having their eyes on some of their players, right? And I could see some of their players maybe going to a championship team that has a better shot of going up this year and getting them back into the Premier League. So I could see that happening. But also, I mean, we have players on our squad who had not played in the championship, right?
Yeah.
And they excelled in the championship. I mean, so our Dobsons, people like that who they didn't think he was going to step up and make it. So maybe it'll be a combination. I don't think we'll see 13, or I hope we won't see 13.
No, maybe not.
But I've been seeing numbers in the 5 to 6, maybe even a little bit higher.
I wouldn't be surprised if like 8 to 10.
And maybe we see more activity in January than we saw this year, because we really it was very close to nothing, and the moves that we made in January didn't really make an impact on the season. Those are not the players that made the impacts. So I'll be curious to see how the strategy shifts this year. And there's also the talk about there's the potential of bringing in a director of football into the team, which is, as I'm learning and through conversations with my brother, who's a professional coach, the director of football is much more involved in the deal making side of the team. And I know that's always been Parky's he was the last stop for everything. And so I don't know if that would shift the way that we do our recruiting, or maybe bring new attention to players that we might not have seen otherwise. I'm not sure, and I'll be curious to see how that pans out. But I think that's another step of getting ready for the Premier League, is putting together the infrastructure that we know we will need when we get there. And hopefully with a COP that will be fully opened by the beginning of next season in 2027. The
timing would all line up.
It would all line up. Yes. But it is a wonder to watch. There was a match for the under 19 team, the Wales under 19 team, at the racecourse on Sunday. And it was so cool to see pictures of the new stand going up with fans around in the area. And you could just see the scale of this new immense thing, which
it's so massive.
But that could be one day all 4 sides could maybe be that big, who knows? So
wouldn't that be something?
If we just keep going. Yeah. So as we look for the transfer window, which we still have a lot of time in, there was the other big excitement last week on Thursday was the schedule came out for the season. And I woke up to many text messages because the schedule came out before I woke up, looking at different aspects of it. But one thing I thought was interesting was that in addition to the league season, the Carabao Cup, which starts the week before, our first draw in that match is Middlesbrough, who was the last team we played. And so it's interesting that we ended our season and we were unfortunately reminded of how that match went in final episode of the documentary and how tense that was. So met them with the draw. We'll start our season. We'll start our season with them. Even though it's not an official and Parky's looking at it as a training match, it'll still be a good indicator early on of sort of what we have to look forward to this season. But then we're kicking off a week later with a big one for many ways. So Cardiff City in Cardiff on a Monday night. So not even on opening weekend. It'll be on like a primetime Monday night. And all I can say is, please have it not go the way that the last time we played them, which we underestimated them and we really paid for it. Yeah. So
I think it'll be a great way to kick off the season. But yeah, I think we learned throughout the season, last season, don't underestimate anybody.
No.
Including us.
Yes.
Nottingham Forest. Ipswich Town.
Yes. I will be curious. So there was a lot of digs at Southampton when the schedule got released.
Oh my gosh.
not just from Wrexham, but from other teams as well too. And they even on the Wrexham
you pointed out this. That you pointed this out to me, that on their little logo,
the logo,
They
they
have the
put
tree.
the tree with the guy sticking out of the tree. And then on the calendar 2 days before, they circled it and wrote, check our practice field.
And then I think on the bottom it said like authorized personnel only.
Yes. So I love that everyone's going into it with sort of making a little tongue-in-cheek fun of it. The other one you pointed out is
yeah, I will say, I do think it was great. You know, they had this lovely map that showed where all of the different venues are and what was the distance from Wrexham to all of these other places. And I would just like to advocate for including the distance that Southerners in the US use, which is we always tell you how far away something is by the number of minutes that it takes you to get there and not the number of miles. And as you and I learned, traveling north to south is very different from traveling east to west.
Yes, yes.
And I think it would be really good to include distances in minutes.
Well, because those of us who live on freeway-centric locations think that 40 miles could take you 40 minutes. But
well,
instead...
look, that's the other thing about, especially in LA, 40 minutes can also take you 9.5 hours.
Right.
So
yes,
minutes are useful.
Minutes are useful, especially with some of those roads that we've all been on before. Yes. And the trains are not as reliable from east to west as well. They're much more difficult than if you're going north to south. So,
but overall, okay.
Yeah.
What match or matches are you most excited about?
Well, one, I'm most excited. I definitely want to see us against Southampton again, and sort of without the drama, without sort of the scandal that came afterwards. I would like to see how that matchup goes, right? And what do you say?
Do you think it's going to be without drama, though?
I don't know.
Like
but
the seeds of drama are already being planted.
Well, then we can watch the drama play out and see that. But I am looking forward to that, and we're meeting them at home again in September 19th. But the one that I'm most excited about in the early part of the season is the West Ham match, because it's away in London, and West Ham was just relegated from the Premier League, and they play at the London Stadium, which was formerly the Olympic Stadium. And so the biggest venue by far of the season, 67,000 seats. The away end is going to be probably huge, 5,000 to 6,000.
The race course.
Where like every fan from Wrexham could probably go and watch that match. So it'll be an interesting environment. I know some people are really looking forward to it. Others that I've seen that it's a little too hectic and busy, and maybe they'll just pass and watch it on television. I don't know. I think it's going to be an exciting one. And the other thing, I haven't really studied over the holiday break, because that's when things get really excited and where things really start to shape up. So I'll look a little closer at that. But I do want to look closer at the spring. Just because I know we like to plan for our annual trip, and trying to find that weekend where we can get the most out of it with the least amount of travel. It's always a fun activity to undertake, and in the coming weeks or
the game of logistics,
the logistics game will start, even though the wheels are already turning a little bit. So
yeah, they are.
We know that. Is there anything you're particularly looking forward to?
Okay, but I am looking forward to Southampton because I'm looking forward to like everything that's going to go on around it. Like I really, more gems are going to get dropped. We're still waiting to hear if there are some additional consequences. That has no bearing on the game, but that does have a bearing on like me eating popcorn and following this because it's too good.
And it has been quiet on that front. We haven't heard anything new, but like the season's been in a lull. So we haven't heard, will the manager be suspended? Will there be other penalties? We'll have to wait and see. So
anyways.
Yeah.
I'll save my reactions for when we have more news.
Okay. But speaking of the Southampton scandal, so it happened so late in the season. And so we just finished the documentary. Episode 8 came out last week, and it's interesting that they got to 42 minutes into the episode where the season was over, and clearly the way they had decided to wrap up the story had played out with all the farewells and all the things. And then they tacked on this strange Spygate segment that didn't end. It just kind of hung there, and it was bizarre, I thought.
So I got to about, I don't know, it was maybe 10 or 15 minutes, 12, 15 minutes left in the episode. Mm-hmm. And it felt like that was the end of the season. And I thought, all right, let's buckle up, kids, because we'll have that much of, you know, kind of the drama that really wrapped up the end of the season. And then it was this, I mean, really lovely tribute and, you know, to the season. And that was fantastic. And all the characters that we met and the impact that, you know, I think that the club has had on many people and many lives was great. And then I thought, are they not even going to talk about it? And then the 2 minutes, it felt like a strange place. It felt like, oh, are we going to get a bonus episode now to follow this up? Because it just didn't feel like the conclusion of a season for a documentary.
Right. Yeah, it felt like it either needed 10 minutes or just not cover it at all. And if they had not covered it, they could have started with that next season and said, oh, after we finished. I mean, I understand that they had a really short time frame, the turnaround time from when they finished filming to get it in to when it aired. And imagine if we had gone to playoffs, it would have been an even shorter turnaround, but the story would have played out differently, right? It was just an odd choice. And like at the same time, I felt like the women getting the Premier League trophy was kind of given short shrift.
It was, yeah.
And I mean, we hadn't seen them as much during the season. We've seen a little bit earlier on. But with the season they had, give them the extra 2 or 3 minutes.
The record-breaking season.
Record-breaking season. Yeah. And just sort of celebrate that a little bit more would have been nice.
I agree. And especially, you know, given that the amount of time to put in either of those, right, was pretty equal. Like, why not focus more, exactly to your point, on the women and their fantastic run, and, you know, maybe even a preview of what comes next.
Yeah. The other thing I thought was a little strange was the goalkeeper situation and how it was and wasn't addressed. So
it was just, here's Danny Ward in goal.
It's like, Danny's back, and nothing about, like, I think there was one sentence about we needed a change, but nothing about like how Arthur felt about it, how Danny felt about it. It was almost like they went back to do interviews and they're like, no, we're not going to talk about it or something. You know?
Which again, I mean, well, at that point, if the season is done or mostly done and you've got the result that you had in those matches, I could understand not wanting to give, you know, to sit down in front of a camera to chat about that.
Right. That's true. But I mean, we only are picking on it,
but it felt a little flat.
Yeah. And we're only picking on it because we enjoy it so much. Like if we weren't interested in the documentary at all, there'd be no point talking about it. And so hopefully we have a lot to look forward to next season. We have another exciting season. We have 3 more years of the show to go.
We've got another season of some Josh Windass gems.
I hope so, because I mean, that was the Josh Windass show at the end.
It was. It really was.
We talked about the header goal that didn't get attributed to him. We got to sit down for a family dinner with him. We just got to hear him. We got to see him smile more. It was
but also just really to exciting. Hear about his frame of mind, right? That, you know, the question was something along the lines of, you know, you made that goal happen. Do you ever think about, well, if it wasn't for me, we wouldn't have been. And I think this really goes to the comment that he made about Paul Mullin, that, you know, he really values the people that he plays with and the people that have come before him, because everything that you do is as a team. You know, there are other teammates that do things better than you do. You do things better than your teammates do, but you all need each other because you all work together in this system. And I just thought that was really, I don't know. I like every time we see him on the episode, I like him more.
So hopefully we have a lot more to look forward to in the next season with that one. So very briefly, as we know the World Cup is continuing. They've finally made it past the endless group stages, which just went on for quite a while, into the knockouts. But unfortunately, New Zealand and Scotland did not get through. So both Libby, Cacace, and Hyam are sort of back with the team now. But Libby started in all 3 matches and he looked great. And I made the comment to someone at one point, I feel like I've seen him play more in 3 matches than I did all season. And the response was, that
because
wasn't
you
that
did.
hard to do. But I know I know he put in more than that, but hopefully he has his injury-free season.
Exactly.
And we can see what he can do for us, because he played very, very well in the World Cup. And so I look forward to seeing more of him. It's too bad that Hyam didn't get any time on the field.
Yeah.
Especially given the way they played in their 3rd match, they really could have used him, but at least they were there and the experience is great. But I have watched a lot of games, and you made a comment a little bit earlier on about the VAR and how the FA Cup match last season really just kind of blew our perspective of wanting to be in the Premier League, in our mind, due to the VAR challenges, right?
The Chelsea match for other reasons.
Yes.
Including the drama, but
the VAR was a big part of it. And I have noticed that the way they handled the VAR in World Cup seems so much more efficient. And it doesn't lead to these huge time stoppages and delays when they're waiting for the calls. There's 1 or 2 that maybe took about a minute or so, but none of this like 5, 6, 7 minute delay while they study the footage, and all for a toe that was over the line. It seems like it's a much more refined process. And so I'm wondering if there's something that English football can learn from that to speed up the VAR process, or to maybe adjust.
Just throw it out.
Yeah. Or just throw it out. That would work
out the window. That's faster.
Yeah, but at least like we said, we don't have to worry about it yet.
Not yet.
We just have to prepare ourselves for it. And the other thing is, I just hope that does not ever catch on to the rest of the sport is hydration breaks.
Do you know that this is part of the conversation, though? Because do you know what it allows?
What?
It allows for television commercials to air. So from a financial point of view, it would not at all surprise me.
Yeah, it just really, really puts a break in the game, in the momentum. And
when I saw it for the very first time, it was right as like the heat wave here was ramping up, and I thought, oh, I've not seen that before. But yeah, if it's very hot, it makes sense. But then I realized it's not that. And then I saw this article about, toying with the idea of including them as just part of, the game now.
We don't need another sport that has quarters, okay?
We don't. Also, guys, you guys make enough money.
Yes.
But that's a different conversation. We don't need to get into that.
Yes. So we'll keep
an eye. I am looking forward to, there is a match. I'm kind of grateful, I guess, about the scheduling. On Friday at 5 a.m. local time, Switzerland plays Algeria. So it's the last match of the day, your Thursday.
Yeah.
But it starts at 5 a.m. So it's late enough that getting up early is actually not too terrible. I can imagine that there's going to be some ruckus on Friday morning here. I can't wait.
Well, I hope everyone gets up early and watches and supports. I watched them play the other day, and they just look really good on the field. And I know we have a friend who follows that team very closely, and he'll be excited. He's already told me that he will be up at 5 a.m. on Friday as well to watch.
I have no doubt about that.
No doubt. So we'll keep an eye on the news this week as more transfer news comes out, and then the team returns to practice. So we might start to see photos from the training pitch. That would be kind of exciting. And then we're gearing up to the first trip to Poland on July 11th.
We're less than 2 weeks out.
Less than 2 weeks out. So it's going to start ramping up really quick as we get into the season now.
Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for joining us this week. Please like, comment, and subscribe.
You can also email us at wxmcoffeematchup@gmail.com. All one word, that's wxmcoffeematchup@gmail.com. Or you can follow us on Instagram and Blue Sky at wxmcoffeematchup.
From the cop to your coffee cup, that's all for today's Wrexham Coffee Matchup. Keep it brewing, keep it red, and as always, up the town.